The discovery. The immense Carathian survey vessel, Nebula Seeker, drifted silently through the void, its sleek obsidian hull absorbing what little starlight reached this remote corner of the galaxy. Commander Zix stood on the bridge, his four arms crossed as he gazed out at the unfamiliar star system before them. "Status report," Zix demanded, his voice a low rumble that reverberated through the ship's command center. Science Officer Vela's tentacles danced across her console as she responded. "Preliminary scans complete, Commander. Third planet from the star shows signs of past civilization, but no current technological signatures. Curious readings from the fourth planet as well." Zix's compound eyes narrowed. "Elaborate." "The third planet appears to have suffered some sort of cataclysm millennia ago. There are ruins, but they're old, very old. The fourth planet, however." Vela paused, double-checking her readings. "It appears to house some kind of artificial structure. Definitely not natural, but it's putting out barely any energy. It could be dormant." The commander's exoskeleton creaked as he leaned forward, intrigued. "A derelict outpost, perhaps, or an ancient colony." "Unknown, sir, but given the lack of activity in this system, it's likely been abandoned for a very long time." Zix considered their options. The Exarathian Imperium was always hungry for new technologies and resources. Even an ancient, abandoned outpost might yield valuable discoveries. And if there was a civilization here once, where had they gone? What had caused their downfall? "Prepare an expedition," Zix ordered. "We'll investigate the structure on the fourth planet first. It may give us clues about what happened here." As the crew busied themselves with preparations, Zix couldn't shake a feeling of unease. In all their explorations, the Exarathians had never encountered a species that could challenge their technological superiority. But something about this system felt different. Hours later, a sleek shuttle detached from the Nebula Seeker, carrying Zix, Vela, and a team of Tarathian researchers and security personnel. As they descended through the thin Martian atmosphere, the structure came into view, a massive half-buried complex of geometric shapes that seemed to defy the natural landscape. "Fascinating," Vela murmured, her eyes fixed on the readings scrolling across her display. "The material composition is unlike anything in our database, and there are faint energy signatures. It's not as dormant as we thought." The shuttle touched down near the entrance to the complex. Zix led the way, his exoskeleton's built-in atmospheric filters allowing him to breathe the thin air. As they approached, a section of the wall seemed to shimmer and then disappear entirely, revealing a dark passage leading into the heart of the structure. "It's reacting to our presence," one of the researchers noted, a mix of excitement and trepidation in their voice. Zix nodded grimly. "Stay alert. We don't know what defenses this place might have." They ventured inside, their suit lights illuminating corridors that seemed to stretch on forever. The architecture was unlike anything the Exarathians had encountered. Clean lines and smooth surfaces that showed no signs of age, despite the millennia that must have passed since their creation. As they delved deeper, they began to find evidence of the builders. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, showing strange bipedal creatures engaged in various activities. Some appeared to be training, while others worked on incomprehensible machines. "Are these the inhabitants?" Vela wondered aloud. "They look primitive. How could they have built something like this?" Zix was about to respond when a low hum filled the air. The walls around them began to glow with a soft blue light, and suddenly, a massive hologram materialized in the center of the chamber they had entered. The image showed a planet, presumably the third world they had scanned earlier, racked by explosions and destruction on a scale that made even the hardened Tarathians recoil. Fleets of ships filled the skies, raining death upon the surface below. And among the chaos, figures that looked like more advanced versions of the creatures they had seen earlier fought with a ferocity that sent chills down Zix's spine. By the void, one of the security officers whispered, "What are we watching?" As if in response to the question, The hologram shifted. Now it showed a group of the bipedal creatures, humans, according to the data scrolling alongside the image, gathered around a table. They looked grim, determined. A voice echoed through the chamber, the alien language somehow translating itself directly into the Xarethians' minds. Project Phoenix is our last hope. Earth is lost, but humanity will survive. We go into the long sleep, waiting for the day when we are needed again. Let any who find this place know. We are the guardians of our species, the protectors of our legacy, and we will return. The hologram faded, leaving the Xarethians in stunned silence. Zix's mind raced with the implications of what they had just witnessed. This wasn't just an abandoned outpost. It was a vault, a sleeping fortress for a race of warriors unlike any they had encountered before. "Commander," Vela said, her voice shaking slightly, "I'm detecting power fluctuations throughout the complex. I think we may have triggered something." Before Zix could respond, a deep rumbling shook the entire structure. Dust and debris rained down from above as ancient machinery groaned to life. In that moment, Zix realized they had stumbled upon something far greater and far more terrifying than they could have ever imagined. "Back to the shuttle," he barked, already sprinting towards the exit. "We need to warn the Imperium. We need to." His words were cut off as a massive blast door slammed shut in front of them, sealing them inside. The last thing Zix saw before emergency stasis protocols engaged was a row of metal pods beginning to open, revealing the silhouettes of the sleeping warriors within. The Xarethians had come looking for relics of the past. Instead, they had awakened humanity's greatest weapons, and perhaps sealed the fate of their own empire in the process. Uncovering the truth, as the Xarethian expedition found themselves trapped within the awakening human facility, light years away, the Nebula Seeker's crew grew increasingly anxious. Hours had passed since they'd lost contact with Commander Zix and the ground team. Acting Commander Krell, a seasoned veteran with emerald scales and piercing yellow eyes, paced the bridge. "Any response to our hails?" he asked, mandibles clicking with worry. Communications Officer Nix shook her head, antennae drooping. "Nothing, sir. It's as if the entire complex is shielded." Krell's tail lashed in frustration. "Prepare a rescue team. We need to." He was cut off by a sudden alarm blaring through the ship, multiple objects launching from the planet's surface. The sensor operator shouted. The crew watched in stunned silence as a fleet of sleek, predatory ships rose from the Martian dust. Their design was utterly alien to Xarethian eyes. All sharp angles and gleaming metal, bristling with weapons that made the Nebula Seeker's armaments look like toys. "By the void," Krell whispered. "What have we awakened?" The human ships accelerated with impossible speed, clearing the planet's orbit in seconds. Krell knew they were outmatched. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Prepare for emergency jump." But before they could act, their systems went dead. That energy pulse had washed over the Nebula Seeker, leaving them powerless and adrift. Inside the Martian complex, Zix and his team were coming to terms with their new reality. The stasis pods had finished their cycles, disgorging dozens of human warriors, each clad in formidable powered armor that made them tower over the Xarethians. A woman with close-cropped silver hair and piercing blue eyes approached. Despite the language barrier, her words translated seamlessly in the aliens' minds. "I am Admiral Sarah Chen, commander of Earth's Phoenix Battalion," she said, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. "You have awakened us from our long sleep. Now you will answer our questions." Zix, struggling to maintain his composure, stepped forward. "I am Commander Zix of the Xarethian Imperium. We meant no harm. We are explorers, seeking knowledge." Admiral Chen's eyes narrowed. "And yet you carry weapons, Commander. Your ship orbits our world, no doubt with more firepower at its disposal. We've seen your kind before, those who come under the guise of peace, only to conquer." Vila, the science officer, interjected. Please, we truly mean no harm. We found your facility and were curious. We had no idea it was occupied. A ghost of a smile crossed the Admiral's face. No, I suppose you wouldn't have. We've slept for over 10,000 years, waiting for the day Earth might need its defenders again. Her expression hardened. Tell me, alien, in your explorations, have you encountered our homeworld, the third planet of this system? Zix hesitated, remembering the scans of the devastated world. We detected signs of an ancient civilization, but no current activity. It appeared to have suffered some great catastrophe long ago. A ripple of murmurs passed through the gathered humans. Admiral Chen's jaw clenched, but she maintained her composure. I see. Then it seems our long vigil may have a new purpose. She turned to one of her officers. Status of the fleet. All ships reporting ready, Admiral. The alien vessel has been neutralized. Chen nodded. Good. Prepare for immediate departure. It's time we see what's become of our home. She fixed Zix with a steely gaze. You and your team will accompany us, Commander. Consider yourselves guests of the Phoenix Battalion. As they were escorted to one of the waiting ships, Zix's mind raced. The Exorathian Imperium spanned thousands of worlds, but he had never encountered a species with technology this advanced. And if these humans were but a fraction of their civilization's military might, awakening after millennia of sleep, the implications were staggering. Aboard the human flagship, christened the Eternal Flame, Zix and his team watched in awe as they accelerated towards Earth. The ship's speed and maneuverability defied Sarathian understanding of physics. Admiral Chen stood at the helm, her face a mask of determination. As they approached the blue-green world, however, that mask began to crack. Earth, once the cradle of human civilization, was a changed place. Vast swathes of the planet were scarred by ancient battles. Entire continents had been reshaped by what must have been weapons of unimaginable power. But amid the devastation, there were signs of life. Green forests had reclaimed abandoned cities. The oceans teemed with massive creatures unlike anything in the historical records. And there, nestled in the shadows of crumbling skyscrapers, were settlements. Primitive by the standards of the Phoenix Battalion, but undeniably human. Life finds a way, Vela murmured, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. Admiral Chen turned to her, eyes glistening with unused tears. Yes, it does. But at what cost? She straightened, addressing her crew. Scan for any remnants of our technology. Any bunkers or facilities that might have survived. As the ship orbited the planet, piecing together the puzzle of humanity's past, Zix found himself re-evaluating everything he thought he knew about the universe. These humans had faced extinction, gone to sleep for millennia, and awakened to find their world forever change. Yet still they persevered. Admiral, he said cautiously, I believe I owe you an apology. We came here seeking knowledge, but we never imagined this. Please, help us understand. What happened to your world? Chen was quiet for a long moment, staring at the scared face of Earth. Finally, she spoke, her voice heavy with the weight of history. We called it the Convergence War. Multiple alien species, drawn by Earth's resources and our rapidly advancing technology, arrived within decades of each other. Some came as friends, others as conquerors. In the chaos that followed, alliances shifted, technologies beyond our comprehension were unleashed, and the very fabric of our world was torn apart. She turned to face Zix, her eyes burning with an intensity that made him step back. We fought. Oh, how we fought. But in the end, it wasn't enough. The decision was made. Our best and brightest, our fiercest warriors, would sleep. We would wait out the storm and return when Earth needed us most. A junior officer approached, interrupting the moment. Admiral, we've detected an energy signature. It matches the protocols of the Artemis bunker. Chen's eyebrows rose. The lunar facility. It survived. Yes, Mom. And it's active. The Admiral's expression shifted from shock to grim determination. Plot a course. It's time we learned exactly what's been happening while we slept. She fixed Zix with a penetrating stare. I hope for your sake, Commander, that your Imperium hasn't had a hand in our world's fate. Because if it has, well, let's just say the Phoenix Battalion has a long memory and a longer reach. As the eternal flame changed course, heading for Earth's moon, Zix felt a chill run down his spine. He had come seeking knowledge, and now he had it. But that knowledge came with a terrible burden. The realization that his people's actions might have awakened a sleeping giant. And if the stories of human tenacity and ingenuity were even half true, the galaxy would never be the same again. Rising tensions. The eternal flame glided silently through space, its advanced stealth systems rendering it invisible to all but the most sophisticated sensors. As they approached the lunar surface, the scared and cratered landscape filled the view screens. Admiral Chen stood at the helm, her posture rigid, eyes fixed on the approaching moon. Artemis Bunker was our fail-safe, she explained to Zix and his team, who had been allowed limited access to the bridge. A repository of human knowledge, culture, and technology, hidden away in case the worst should happen. If it's still active after all this time, she left the implications hanging in the air. Zix felt a mixture of anticipation and dread. What secrets would this lunar facility hold, and how would they impact the delicate balance of power in the galaxy? As they neared the coordinates of the bunker, a massive structure began to materialize before them. It was a triumph of engineering. A sprawling complex seamlessly integrated into the lunar landscape, its metal and crystal surfaces gleaming in the harsh sunlight. Life signs detected, reported one of the human officers. And, "Sir, we're receiving a transmission." The bridge fell silent as a holographic display flickered to life. The image resolved into the face of a man, human but somehow different. His skin had a faint metallic sheen, and his eyes glowed with an inner light. "This is Director Aiden Kane of Artemis Bunker," the figure said, his voice carrying a strange, harmonic quality. "Identify yourselves." Admiral Chen stepped forward. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Phoenix Battalion. We've come home, Director." Kane's eyes widened, a mix of emotions playing across his face. "The sleepers, you're awake. After all this time." He paused, composing himself. "Admiral, we have much to discuss. Please, dock at the main hangar. We'll prepare for your arrival." As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her security chief. "Full alert. We don't know what to expect down there." Zix couldn't contain his curiosity any longer. "Admiral, if I may, what exactly is this Artemis Bunker? And who is this Director Kane?" Chen's expression was grim. "Artemis was our insurance policy, a self-sustaining lunar colony with the best and brightest minds humanity had to offer. Scientists, engineers, visionaries, all working to ensure our species' survival, no matter what happened on Earth." She paused, her gaze distant. "As for Kane, he should be long dead. The fact that he's not, well, that's just one more mystery we'll have to unravel." The docking procedure was tense, with both the Phoenix Battalion and the bunker's security forces on high alert. As the airlock cycled open, Zix and his fellow Exarathians found themselves at the center of a surreal meeting of past and future. Director Kane greeted them personally, flanked by a cadre of individuals who, like him, bore signs of extensive cybernetic enhancement. The contrast between these evolved humans and the more traditional Phoenix Battalion warriors was stark. "Welcome home, Admiral," Kane said, his voice carrying a weight of centuries. "And welcome to our guests." His gaze lingered on Zix and his team, a mix of curiosity and wariness in his glowing eyes. As they were led deeper into the facility, Zix marveled at the advanced technology on display. It rivaled, and in some cases surpassed, anything the Terathian Imperium possessed. The implications were staggering. In a vast conference room, with Earth hanging like a blue jewel in the viewport, Director Kane began to explain the situation. After the Convergence War, we continued our work here on Artemis. We've made advancements, cybernetic augmentation, artificial intelligence, faster than light travel. We've pushed the boundaries of what it means to be human. Admiral Chen's expression was a mix of awe and concern. And Earth, the settlements we saw. Kane nodded solemnly. We've been guiding them, subtly, helping them rebuild, but careful not to interfere too much. The Earth you knew, Admiral, it's gone. But humanity endures. As the briefing continued, tensions began to rise. The Phoenix Battalion, awakened from millennia of sleep, struggled to reconcile their memories of Earth with its current reality. The Artemis humans, evolved beyond their wildest dreams, viewed their ancestors with a mix of respect and patronizing amusement. And through it all, Zix and his team watched, increasingly aware that they were witnessing a pivotal moment in galactic history. What of the wider galaxy? Chen asked finally. You must have explored, made contact with other species. Kane's expression darkened. We have. And that's where things get complicated. He activated a holographic display, showing a map of the local galactic arm. We've established colonies, made allies, and yes, fought wars. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Admiral, and humanity. Well, we've had to adapt. Zix felt a chill run down his spine as he recognized some of the territories on the map. The Exarathian Imperium was there, but it was smaller than he remembered. Other areas were marked as contested or restricted. Your Imperium, Kane said, addressing Zix directly, has been a particular thorn in our side. Always pushing boundaries, always seeking to expand. We've had to push back on occasion. The implications hit Zix like a physical blow. These humans, these descendants of Earth, had been fighting his people and winning, without the Imperium even realizing who their true enemy was. Admiral Chen's voice was cold as she processed this information. So while we slept, you've been waging war across the stars. Kane's cybernetic eyes flashed. We've been ensuring humanity's survival, Admiral, by any means necessary. The tension in the room was palpable. Two branches of humanity, separated by time and ideology, stood on the brink of conflict. And caught in the middle were Zix and his team, representatives of an empire that suddenly found itself outmatched and outmaneuvered. As arguments erupted between the Phoenix Battalion and the Artemis leadership, Zix exchanged a worried glance with Vela. They had come seeking knowledge, but instead had stumbled into a powder keg of galactic proportions. The fate of not just Earth, but the entire galaxy hung in the balance, and as the debates raged on, one thing became crystal clear. The awakening of the Phoenix Battalion had set in motion events that would reshape the cosmic order forever. In that moment, staring out at the scared face of Earth, Zix realized that his mission of exploration had become something far more dangerous. He was now a witness, and perhaps a catalyst, to the rebirth of a species that had already proven itself capable of reshaping worlds. The galaxy would never be the same again. And the Exarathian Imperium, along with every other spacefaring civilization, would soon have to reckon with the full might of a humanity reborn. The awakening. The tension in the Artemis bunker's conference room had reached a fever pitch. Admiral Chen and Director Kane stood at opposite ends of the holographic display, their faces illuminated by the swirling galactic map between them. You've turned us into conquerors, Chen accused, her voice tight with barely contained anger. This isn't what we fought for, what we sacrificed everything to preserve. Kane's cybernetic eyes flashed. We did what was necessary to survive. The galaxy isn't the idealistic playground you imagined, Admiral. It's brutal, unforgiving. We adapted. Zix watched the exchange with growing unease. The divide between these two factions of humanity seemed insurmountable. On one side, the Phoenix Battalion, warriors out of time, clinging to ideals forged in Earth's final days. On the other, The Artemis evolved, a humanity shaped by centuries of cosmic conflict and technological advancement. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. A young officer burst into the room, his face pale. "Director, Admiral, we've detected multiple ships entering the system. They're Carathian." All eyes turned to Zix and his team. The Exarathian commander raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I swear we didn't call for reinforcements. This must be a search party for our missing ship." Kane's expression hardened. "Or perhaps your Imperium has decided to make a move against Earth while it perceives us to be vulnerable." He turned to his staff. "Battle stations. Prepare the lunar defenses." "Wait," Zix pleaded. "Let me contact them. I can explain the situation, prevent any unnecessary conflict." Admiral Chen studied him for a long moment before nodding. "Do it. But know that if this is a trick, your life and the lives of your crew are forfeit." With trembling hands, Zix activated his communicator. The face of Fleet Admiral Zorn, his direct superior, appeared on the screen. The older Exarethian's expression was a mix of relief and concern. "Commander Zix, we feared the worst when we lost contact. What's the situation?" Zix took a deep breath. "Sir, the situation is complex. We've made first contact with a previously unknown species. They're called humans, and they're formidable." He glanced at Chen and Kane. "I strongly advise against any aggressive action. We need to open diplomatic channels immediately." Zorn's eyes narrowed. "Are you under duress, Commander? Blink twice if you're being coerced." "No, sir. I'm speaking freely. But please, this is a delicate situation. Any show of force could lead to catastrophe." There was a long pause as Zorn considered this information. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. We'll hold position and await further instructions. But be warned, if we don't hear from you within the next solar cycle, we will take action to recover our people." As the communication ended, Zix turned back to the assembled humans. "I've bought us some time, but not much. We need to find a way to de-escalate this situation before it spirals out of control." Admiral Chen nodded grimly. "Agreed. But first, we need to address the elephant in the room." She turned to Kane. "Your actions have put Earth and humanity at risk. We need to know everything. No more secrets." Kane sighed, suddenly looking every bit his advanced age. "You're right. It's time you knew the full truth." He gestured to the holographic display, which shifted to show a detailed timeline of Earth's history since the Convergence War. "After you went into stasis, we rebuilt. Slowly at first, then with increasing speed as we unlocked the secrets of the alien technologies left behind. We spread to the stars, establishing colonies, forging alliances, but we also made enemies." The display showed conflicts spanning centuries, brutal wars against alien empires, including the Xarathians. Humanity had fought, bled, and clawed its way to become a major power in the galaxy. "We've done things I'm not proud of," Kane admitted, "but everything was in service of ensuring humanity's survival and prosperity." Chen's expression was a mix of horror and grudging admiration. "And now, what's our place in the galaxy?" "We're at a crossroads," Kane said. "Our technology rivals or surpasses most other species. We have the power to shape the future of the galaxy. But we're also overextended, facing challenges on multiple fronts." Zix listened intently, his mind reeling from the implications. The Xarathian Imperium had always seen itself as the dominant force in the galaxy. To learn that they had been outmaneuvered by a species they hadn't even known existed. "So what now?" Chen asked, her voice carrying the weight of command. "We can't simply pick up where you left off. The Phoenix Battalion won't be party to conquest or subjugation." Kane nodded. "No, we can't. But perhaps your awakening is the catalyst we need for change, a reminder of our roots, our core values." As the humans debated their path forward, Zix cleared his throat. "If I may, this could be an opportunity. not just for humanity, but for all spacefaring species. A chance to forge a new path, one of cooperation rather than conflict. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to the Xarathian. Encouraged, he continued, "My people have always sought to expand, to conquer. But perhaps we've been wrong. Perhaps there's a better way. One where we all benefit from sharing knowledge and resources." Admiral Chen's eyes lit up. A galactic alliance. It's ambitious, but it could work. She turned to Kane. "Your technology, combined with our ideals and the strength of other species like Xarathians, we could usher in a new era of peace and prosperity." Kane stroked his chin thoughtfully. "It won't be easy. There's too much bad blood, too many competing interests. But it's a goal worth pursuing." As the discussions continued, plans began to take shape. The Phoenix Battalion would act as a bridge between Earth's past and its future. The Artemis Evolved would share their advanced technology, but with safeguards to prevent its misuse. And the Xarathians, through Zix, would open diplomatic channels with other species. It was an audacious plan, fraught with challenges and potential pitfalls. But as Zix looked around the room, he saw something he hadn't expected: hope. Hope for a future where the stars were not a battlefield, but a frontier of infinite possibility. As the lunar facility hummed with activity, preparations being made for the monumental tasks ahead, Zix found himself standing before the viewport, Earth hanging like a jewel in the void. Admiral Chen joined him, her expression thoughtful. "You know, Commander, when we went into stasis, we thought we were preserving humanity's last hope. Instead, we may have just become the key to the galaxy's salvation." Zix nodded, his compound eyes reflecting the blue-green world before them. "It's funny how the universe works, isn't it? We came here seeking knowledge, and instead, we may have found the path to a better future for all." As they stood there, an unlikely pair united by circumstance and shared vision, the first rays of Earth's sun crept over the horizon. It was a new dawn, not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. And though the challenges ahead were daunting, in that moment, anything seemed possible. The awakening had begun. And with it, the promise of a new cosmic order, one forged not through conquest, but through cooperation, understanding, and the indomitable spirit of a humanity reborn. A new era begins. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. The lunar base, once a hidden outpost, had become the center of a diplomatic maelstrom. Representatives from various alien species, including a delegation from the Xarathian Imperium, had arrived to participate in what was being called the Lunar Concord. Admiral Chen stood at the head of a massive conference table, her Phoenix Battalion uniform a stark contrast to the advanced attire of the Artemis Evolved and the varied appearances of the alien delegates. Zix sat nearby, now serving as a liaison between humanity and the Xarathian Empire. "We stand at a crossroads," Chen began, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. "For too long, the galaxy has been defined by conflict and conquest. Today, we propose a different path." Director Kane activated a holographic display, showing a complex network of worlds and space stations. The Lunar Concord will be more than just a peace treaty. It will be a framework for cooperation, for shared growth and mutual defense. As the details of the proposed alliance were laid out, Zix couldn't help but marvel at the audacity of it all. Shared technology programs, open borders for trade and cultural exchange, a unified response to cosmic threats. It was ambitious beyond anything he had ever imagined. Not everyone was enthusiastic, of course. The Xarathian delegation, led by Fleet Admiral Zorn, seemed particularly skeptical. "This is madness," Zorn growled. "You expect us to simply set aside centuries of imperial doctrine, to share our secrets with potential enemies." Zix stood, facing his former superior. "With respect, Admiral, the old ways have led us to the brink of destruction more times than I can count. This is our chance to build something greater than any single empire." The debates raged for days. There were heated arguments, tense negotiations, and more than a few moments when it seemed the entire endeavor might collapse. But slowly, painfully, progress was made. On the final day of the conference, as the delegates gathered to sign the historic accord, an unexpected message arrived from Earth. The fledgling human colonies, having been informed of the momentous events unfolding on their moon, had sent a representative. A young woman, dressed in simple clothes that spoke of a life closer to nature than to advanced technology, stepped into the conference room. Her eyes widened as she took in the assembled aliens and evolved humans. "I am Elia," she said, her voice strong despite her obvious awe. "I speak for the people of Earth. We may not have your technology or your cosmic understanding, but we carry the spirit of our ancestors. Whatever path humanity chooses, we wish to walk it with you." Her words seemed to break the last barriers of resistance. One by one, the delegates stepped forward to sign the Lunar Concord. As Zix pressed his appendage to the document, he felt a sense of profound change washing over him. In the days that followed, the real work began. The Phoenix Battalion, under Chen's leadership, took on the role of peacekeepers, their ancient but formidable ships patrolling the borders of the new alliance. The Artemis Evolved began the careful process of sharing their advanced technology, with safeguards in place to prevent misuse. Zix found himself in a new role, heading up a joint scientific expedition to explore uncharted regions of the galaxy. His team was a mix of species, humans both ancient and evolved, Cerathians, and representatives from other alien races. Their mission was to seek out new life, new civilizations, and to expand the reach of the Lunar Concord. As their ship, fittingly named New Horizon, prepared for its maiden voyage, Zix stood on the bridge, looking out at the star-filled void. Admiral Chen's voice came over the comm system. "You're making history out there, Commander," she said. "Remember, every new world, every new species you encounter is a potential friend, a potential member of our alliance." Zix nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "We'll do our best, Admiral, for the future of all our peoples." As the New Horizon engaged its engines, preparing to leap into the unknown, Zix felt a sense of excitement he hadn't experienced since his early days as an explorer. The galaxy was vast, filled with wonders and dangers beyond imagination. But for the first time, he felt that they were facing those challenges not as conquerors or competitors, but as a united front. The ship disappeared in a flash of light, leaving Earth and its moon behind. On the lunar surface, in the halls of the Artemis bunker, humans and aliens alike watched the departure. It was more than just the launch of a ship. It was the dawn of a new era. Director Kane, standing beside Admiral Chen, allowed himself a small smile. "You know," he said softly, "when we first went into stasis, I never imagined it would lead to this." Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the point where the New Horizon had vanished. "Neither did I. But that's the thing about humanity, isn't it? We've always had a knack for defying expectations." As news of the Lunar Concord spread across the galaxy, reactions were mixed. Some welcomed the promise of peace and cooperation. Others viewed it with suspicion or outright hostility. But one thing was certain: the awakening of Earth's ancient warriors had set in motion changes that would reshape the cosmic order for generations to come. And somewhere out there, beyond the reach of known space, Zix and his crew of explorers pushed ever onward, carrying with them the hope of a united galaxy. The journey ahead was long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in cosmic history, they faced that journey not as divided species, but as a single united front. The era of the Lunar Concord had begun, and with it, the promise of a future brighter than any single world could have imagined.